Hey folks, this is Brother Nero here. Thanks for showing up. Today I want to talk a little bit about something that I think is critically important, and that's why we in Shadow Path Diabolism, strive to keep things simple, deliberately simple. Um, One of the things I've found over the years of practice is that if you keep your rituals simple, then it helps you to actually have time to really feel the spiritual connection and really think about the words you're saying. And I think so many people um, get so caught up in the simpleness, the complexity of ritual. And that's okay to do that if you're doing a ritual that you've planned for and prepared for and memorized. But a lot of times, what you're trying to accomplish is you're trying to make a connection with the gods. And the best way to do that is to take the time and think about what you're saying, take the time to put your offerings together and just relax and make it an enjoyable experience. If you're worried about what you have to remember, oh, I have to remember this invocation or this evocation, and I have to get it right because if I don't get it right, the spirits won't approve, that kind of thing, then you're not going to really uh, be able to connect spiritually. So try to keep your rituals simple, especially if you're new and you're just starting out. Simplicity is the best way to go. You can always make your rituals more complicated as you go along in the process. So don't feel like you have to already be a professional ceremonial magician by the time you start. And in Shadow Path Diabolism, we don't really use a lot of ceremonial magic. We keep it very simple, kind of folk magic, that sort of thing. It's not that we don't know much about ceremonial magic. I don't know, for some of you who may not know me very well, I was a former member of the Caliphate OTO, and I respect that organization a lot. I respect the people in it a lot. I have nothing but admiration for them. And I was also a former member of the Temple of Set. So I'm familiar with ceremonial magic. It's just, to me, too much detail gets in the way of making that connection. So that's kind of why I strive, stay away from it, because I don't want to be focused on memorizing formulas and memorizing God forms and all that kind of stuff. It just makes no sense to me to focus on that. It really makes more sense to try and make sure you're feeling what you're saying. So that's just a little piece of advice. Also, I want to apologize to you guys for last week. Had a podcast scheduled, and I didn't show up for it because I had a meeting that I'd forgotten about that I had scheduled before I had made the podcast schedule. So I wanted to apologize for anybody that was waiting for me to show up last week, and I didn't. Um, but from now on, this is going to be the new time because I wanted to do it earlier so more people could attend if they wanted to. So it wouldn't be so late for some people because I know we have people in different time zones. I also want to take a minute to remind everybody that we have an outreach coming up in Birmingham, UK, on the 30th of April. And Julia and Brother Mo will be there, and they will be taking questions from people. And we'll also be having a virtual outreach where we answer questions from the audience tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Central as well. So if you have any questions about Satanism, Shadow Path Diabolism, or Devil's Mark Ministries, we'll be there, me and Julia, to answer any questions you may have. So if you know somebody that might be interested, just let them know for us, okay? Now, going to the next thing, I want to talk a little bit about another thing that's important to me. I want to talk a little bit about the Satanic Temple and the stuff that they do. The Satanic Temple has become very popular in the media. And the reason they become very popular is because they don't promote Satanism. They promote politics. They promote, um, you know, left leaning kind of progressive politics. And so they have a lot of people that support them because of that. They're not satanic and they don't promote really satanic ideas other than the liberty and freedom part, maybe. You could say that's satanic, but basically, they don't promote the religious worship of Satan. They're not satanic, and so you kind of have to take everything they do with a grain of salt. Um, have they done some good for the satanic community? I would say, yeah. It would be unfair to say they haven't done anything useful for the satanic community. They've made the Christians have to stand up and take notice, and basically told the Christians, "Look, we're not going to put up with your crap. we're going to stand up for ourselves and our civil rights. So in that sense, they've done good things, but for the most part, they've done a lot of damage because what they've done is they've started to classify themselves as religious Satanists. And if you go and look on the search engines, you'll see that they're starting to take up that, you know, those labels as religious Satanist, theistic Satanist. You'll see their organization comes up, and so does the Church of Satan. So, unfortunately, because theistic Satanists haven't done the work or haven't cared enough to do the work to start ministries of their own or churches of their own, we're in a situation where a bunch of atheists speak for our religion and we have no voice. So, what I want to strongly suggest to people is that if you're a theistic Satanist, if you've thought about getting involved in organizations like Devil's Mark Ministries before, but you haven't, I'd really strongly suggest that you reconsider that. If you really believe in Satanism and you're tired of atheism and you're tired of all of these people speaking for you that don't represent you, then join up with an organization you support and do something to fight that. Give theistic Satanists a voice. I can't emphasize to you enough how important it is that you start standing up for yourself and you start saying, this doesn't, this religious, my religion matters to me. My religion is important to me, and we need to stand up for that. You know, it's so important. So if you've thought about it, do it. Okay. So let me see. What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, and people always ask about offerings as well. They always ask, what should I do? What should I offer the spirits? It's very simple, very straightforward. If you don't know what to offer the spirits, if you haven't done enough research that you're familiar with the spirit, which you should do. And one of the rules that I always use when I teach people about Satanism is that if you don't know what to offer, go look for source material. And then that source material, if you find 2 or 3 books that say offer the demons the same thing, then offer it to them. You know, uh, always look for references where they have at least one more than one mention of the offerings you should give. If they don't, then alcohol, honey, um, food offerings are usually okay. You're not going to go wrong by offering food and wine or food and spirits or something like that, you know? So if you're unsure, anything, as long as it's the best quality stuff you've gotten, yeah, you've got, and it's or if you're eating a meal, you give them the first choice, that's the proper way to offer. If you give them your leftovers, then you're treating them like they're your dog instead of your God. So be careful about that. So, like if you have a cut of meat, like you have a roast beef or something, give them the first slice. That's a way you could do it. You could set up a place for them at your meal, at your table, and stuff like that. So that's always an easy way to do it when you don't know exactly what to do. Another thing I want to address is another question I got on my brother Nero YouTube channel, the Shadow Path Diabolist channel. Somebody asked me, what do you do when you're not getting the answers or you're praying to Satan and you're not getting a response? And I could sit here and give you some elaborate answer, but the honest truth is, I'm not Satan. Um, Devil's Mark Ministries is not Satan, you know, and we can't tell you why he doesn't answer. Some people he answers right away, some people he doesn't. Some people have to do prayers for weeks or months and they finally get an answer. Some people never get an answer. We don't know. And I'm not trying to claim that I do know. And if you have people around you or people that you're talking to on the internet that tell you they know, watch out, because I bet you anything they're con artists. Because people that actually practice real Satanism, real devil worship, know that Satan has his own personality. The demons have their own unique personality, and they do whatever the hell they want whenever they want. And sometimes you'll think that they're not listening or they haven't answered you, and they've been watching you the whole time, and they're aware of what's going on with you, and they're waiting to see how you react. They're testing you, and that's the truth. And I know that sounds to some people that may sound Christian or whatever, but it's just the way it is. And like I said, if something I say doesn't sound like something you like, I'm sorry about that. I'm not here to win a popularity contest. I'm here to talk about religious Satanism. And sometimes the truth is not popular. Ministers are never popular. They don't go along with the conventional view of things. They kind of always go against the grain. That's why they're ministers, because they don't care about the social norms or what's acceptable or political correctness. They care about what's right for the religion. That's why some of my views in my book, has been controversial for some people, because I'm not worried about what the political ramifications are. I'm not worried about what people's opinion of me might be. I'm worried about whether I'm doing right by my religion and my gods. And it's more about that than anything else. And if I have to be kind of hated or disliked because I tell the truth as I see it, well, so be it. I'm a Satanist after all. If you think it's going to be a popularity contest and you're a devil worshiper, you got the wrong impression of what being a devil worshiper is all about. If you think it's going to be easy being a Satanist, a real Satanist, you got the wrong idea. It's going to be hard. You might as well get used to not being liked, and you might as well stand by your principles, because if you don't stand by your principles, what have you got? You got nothing. See, that's another thing about Devil's Mark Ministries. I want to say we try to teach people, stand by your principles, be true to yourself. Don't let anybody tell you who you should be or who you can be. The only one that matters is what Satan thinks and what the demons think and your relationship with them. Everything else is extra. If you have a good community, that's great. If you have a good organization of people that you can hang out with and worship with and do rituals with, that's great. But if you have to compromise your principles to be a part of an organization, then they're not teaching you true Satanism as far as I'm concerned. Satanism is not cult-like. Satanism is all about the individual, and religious Satanism in particular is about individual free will and individual, you know, improving yourself as an individual and building that relationship with Satan. And if anybody tells you any different, watch out. They're up to something. They have an ulterior motive. And all these people selling these courses for, like, $100 or $200 or whatever it is, selling books for $500, watch out. I'm telling you, there's something wrong there, because people that really believe in this stuff don't sell their books for $500. They just don't, because they think they think of themselves as doing a duty to Satan. They don't go out of their way to gouge people by making their prices ridiculous. When I do these podcasts, I think of to myself, this is a service to Satan I'm doing. When I put out my first book, I deliberately priced it at $10.95 when everybody else was doing $12.95 or $14.95, because I saw it as a religious thing. And another thing that I do, that's different is, I don't encourage people to steal my book or put my book online. I'm not going to do that, because I use the money for some of the Satanism stuff. In fact, I can even tell you right now, the audio equipment that I'm using for this podcast was purchased off the royalties from my books. So, so the very money that I get from people, I put back into Satanism. But I will say that if somebody were to take my book and make it available online somewhere, I'm not going to, look for them and try to hunt them down and try to file a copyright claim, because to me, the book is not really mine. It's Satan that they're interested in. They're not interested in me. They're interested in the gods. So how could I, with a clear conscience, tell somebody, oh, you better not distribute my book? I own that. Well, I don't own Satan. I don't own the demons. I don't own anything in that book, really, honestly. I mean, I appreciate that I get royalties off of it, and I wrote it, yes. But the thing that people are interested in is Satan. The only reason they buy that book is because of Satan, not me. So I don't feel like I can sit here in good conscience as a minister say, you better not copy my book. You better not distribute my book, because, you know, I'm going to sue you. I don't have the right to do that because I don't own Satan. Kind of, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense and I'm not just rambling, but that's the difference between a minister and somebody who's out to do something negative. You know, I just really think that we need to get back to a more spiritual place where it's more about the spirits, more about the kingdom, more about doing the service to the gods. And I don't care whether it makes us popular. I don't care whether the Church of Satan likes it or whether the Satanic Temple likes it. I don't care who doesn't like it. To be honest, we listen too much to what the Church of Satan says. We listen too much to what those idiots in the Satanic Temple say. We need to tell them to sit down and shut up and be quiet and let some real Satanists talk for a while. That's what we need to say. But we don't say that because we're intimidated. We let a bunch of atheists tell us what we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to believe in. And I'm tired of it myself. And I hope you're just as tired of it as I am. And if you want to fight back and if you want to say something other than the typical stuff that atheistic Satanists say, I hope you'll join me. I hope you'll join this organization, and I hope you'll help us fight back and try to give ourselves a voice for a change. Anyway, I think that's about it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's kind of short. I always do short podcasts when I do live podcasts, but I'll be back this same day next week at the same time. I hope you'll be here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send them to me at my email address at devilsmarkministries.org, or you can always leave them in the comments and I will answer them. I will either answer them in the comments or I will answer them on the next podcast. So until next time, guys, see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.